excited. It is Pride Month. This is the 4th episode, and I cannot wait to talk to these two individuals. They're gonna share their story, answer some questions, but it's a big month, it's a big event, and I'm here to amplify it. So welcome to the Heart of Heritage series, Pride Month. Are you guys ready to have a conversation?
Yeah, we're ready.
Well, I'm welcoming Deshawn and Joe. Thank you for sitting with me today.
Yes, thanks for the invite.
Oh, of course. Well, I just have some questions, and I'm all about a good conversation, so we're just gonna roll with it.
Right.
And I wanna know something about your personal life, all that stuff, just a little bit, how you grew up, all of those different things. But before I jump into that, are you from Seattle or are you from somewhere else?
I'm from Tacoma.
Okay, that's different.
It's very different. I like to make sure people know that yes, I'm from Washington, but
Right.
Seattle's not Tacoma. Culturally, the cities are very different.
Ooh.
And so I take a lot of pride in being from Tacktown.
Okay, Tacktown. Okay. I love that, Joe.
And I grew up down in Southern Oregon, down in Medford.
Okay.
Just about 20 minutes north of the California border.
Yeah.
Small farming, cattle.
Wow.
That kind of life.
So this is big city for you.
big city life for me, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much. Let's jump right into it.
Let's go.
Let's start personal. What does Pride Month mean to you this year in this moment of your life? Either one of you can start.
Go.
Yeah, I think for me, Pride Month has become just literally it's a celebration, but it's also a time where I'm able to kind of double down on who I am. I think it took me some time to get there, to understand who I was, how I love,
Right.
knowing that it's okay, and then actually latching on to pride. For a while when I was younger, I was like, that's not for me. And so now, being in a more confident place in my life, it is for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I
so
love that.
that's kind of how I interpret the time.
Okay.
I'd agree. I think when I was younger, coming from a small town, pride seemed so overwhelming to me when I got to the city. And so I was kind of like, I don't think it's my space. I don't think, you know what I mean? It's just not who I am, but it is,
Yeah.
And as I kind of built my community here, I realized that's what pride means, is community. And you can do it in any way, whether it's the parade or just going to Cali or something, having a great picnic and people watching. And so I feel like recognizing the breadth of what pride means allowed myself to find a space within it.
Wow. When would you say, for yourselves, like, okay, this is who I am and I'm going to embrace it? Like what age, what time era was that like for you? Was it like, because some people say, I knew when I was a kid, like I am different and I want to embrace this. But then some people said it took me a long time. I didn't feel safe to really just be myself. So what was that like for you?
Wow. That's a great question. I think,
and that wasn't even on my script. It just came to me as I was thinking. I was like, I'm a comic. I was like, I went off the script, but I just wanted to ask this. No,
I think, like I said, it was a progression. Tacoma is a small city, big town, right? And so there wasn't a lot of examples, of the differences of what being gay could look like, right? Then I'm also Black, so in the Black community for sure, it's a little tougher. It's a little less accepted, just based off of culture and roots, right? So I didn't have that example. So I knew from a very young age that there was something different, and that I, was attracted to, guys as well. But as I got older, I went through I'm the bisexual phase, and then I got to college and I opened up a little bit more, where I began to share my thoughts and feelings with friends. But even still then, there were certain gay lingo or things that it wasn't for me. It made me uncomfortable. So I remember freshman year of college, I met all of these gays, right? Now in college, I'm in a dance program, and I just remember everyone was like, yes, girl, this is good. I'm like, don't call me girl. Right. Now I say it all the time. Right. I'll make jokes with my mom, because I was like, the mom, she's not doing her job today. She's like, why is everything a she? And I'm like, I don't know. She just is. So I've grown into that, but I think I would say it was probably around when I moved to DC, and I ended my relationship there. My first relationship in DC is when I really began to grow into who I was. And that was probably around 27, 28.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. So not that long ago.
Yeah.
Okay. How about you, Jim?
I would say similar, little younger for me, but somewhere coming from like Southern Oregon, not really having
Right.
really
Yeah.
anyone to look up to in that sense. And like seeing what was represented on TV and not feeling like, I don't quite fit into the flamboyant mold that's usually the best gay friend on TV, but like I do at the same time. So, look in the mirror. Like not feeling it internally. So it was a regression. And then my dad passed away when I was 20 years old. And,
Wow.
I think that really was a catalyst for me to be like, you got to live your truth. He passed away in his 50s, and I was like, that's not too far from 20.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I don't want any more of my life to really felt like I'm not being who I am, my authentic self. So I think that was really my catalyst. And then from there, just kept accepting more of myself and
Wow.
feeling that similar of not feeling comfortable being called girl or, in a joking sense and all that kind of being like, we're all joking here.
Right.
Life's a big joke. So.
Life is a joke. We try to make the best of it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. In your role, whether corporate, club relations, or dance, how do you weave queerness and authenticity into your daily work?
Let me just start with this one.
Yeah. So my role here at Seattle Theater Group is corporate relations manager.
Okay.
So I'm dealing with all of our corporate sponsorship, which can be a double-edged sword for who's our supporters, my personal opinions about them. But what I found through that role is, luckily working at the performing arts, all of my clients and all of our partners are here to support us, and they understand the arts welcome everybody.
Yeah.
So, it might not be that I agree with everything one of our corporate sponsors might do in their day-to-day. I agree with what my clients believe in and what they're investing in. So it allows me to kind of feel like I'm bringing my authentic self just because we work in the arts.
Right.
So that just like sets that base layer of comfort. And I think that's really like guided me in staying in this realm is, there's always kind of a base level acceptance.
Right.
Just because it is the arts. So, for me, like with the corporate life, knowing that the money is going to our incredible education programs, getting people's voices out, getting people to experience the arts, reducing those barriers. So that just kind of helps me plug along and know that I'm doing something good for this world.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. My role previously was our dance manager.
Okay.
So I was in charge of managing a lot of our dance education programs. And then I most recently shifted to AileyCamp manager, which is another dance education program.
Yes.
That's our AileyCamp program. That's in partnership with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater that we do every summer. And so in those different programs, I have the opportunity to work with a lot of youth. And I think for me, what I'm able to do is create a space where all are welcome. And so, especially with our youth being more comfortable with who they are, sharing who they are, investigating those things at an earlier age, I'm able to, one, be that example that I didn't have, right? Of someone who is confident in who they are, no matter their sexuality or how they love, but also then being able to have conversation with them and make sure that the space remains positive and accepting and loving of however they show up. That's what I would kind of say.
I think it's so beautiful because if you don't show up as your authentic self, then how can you bring that towards you? Because people are looking for that. And I have said this before, even in life, if we're walking around with a mask, when the real people come, they can't find you. So it is so worth to just like, and it's hard. It is so hard because the world's like, no, I can't. Social media, everything. But I think it's so beautiful within the arts community, that you can like kind of let it all go and be like, this is who I am.
If I can add on to that, I think that one of the things that's super interesting now is the importance of showing up as that representation, right? So, we hear of like code switching or like trying to shift who you are in a different space, but for those people who are not experiencing different types of people, right? If you're editing who you are, then they don't have the chance to experience, the super flamboyant gay person, the not so flamboyant. They don't know the range and the depth of how a community can show up in different ways because there's been only one created image. And if we either show up in that image or in their image, we're not giving them the spectrum. so that they can begin to get used to it
Yeah.
and be okay with, being in space with people and chatting with people and building relationships with people that might differ from whatever they're used to.
Oh, that's so good. Anything else, Joe, with that? Are you good?
Okay.
Okay, so then can you share a moment where you felt truly seen as a queer person within the theater community yourself? When did you feel really seen?
I can go.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was my freshman year in high school. There's a big dance competition every year that wrapped up the year. We called it Milli Vanilli.
Okay. And it didn't skip any beats.
It didn't skip a beat.
Girl, you know it's girl, you know. I'm sorry to bring that up.
No, please do. I love Milli Vanilli.
I love Milli Vanilli. I do too.
That was for me the first time where I was accepting the fluidity of gender through dance and being really scared to express that in front of the entire school, knowing the range of support that existed down there, from great friends who did support to people who were aggressive.
Right.
And I felt finally I was just you just got to do it, just go out there and do what you got to do. It was lyrical dance, it was interpretive, it was modern, it was ballet, all that kind of stuff. And after that performance, the range of people who came up and congratulated me was just so unexpected.
Wow.
And so it really shifted my perspective of saying how much is it internalized that I think people are going to come at me, and how much of it is external.
Wow.
And when you show up with your true self. And that was the first time I really felt I was this is who I am. I'm laying it out there. People can accept it or not. And it was beautiful to see how many people I didn't expect to come up and congratulate me did. So that was a moment of taking a leap of faith. And the arts really was okay, you can be yourself. And people will support it. Not everyone will. People who matter do.
Yes.
I agree. Every time we start talking about it, I'm oh yeah, Joe's a dancer.
Come on now.
I was that's why I like him. But I kind of agree. I don't feel there's a moment that I felt seen as a queer person, but I think that the arts gave me access to understanding that side of myself and being okay with it and growing confident in it.
Right.
So I played sports, football, baseball, karate, all of those things. But it wasn't until I started dancing in high school that I really started to be comfortable with who I was.
Yeah.
I was in a space that allowed me to be that, and there was the support around me.
Wow.
So I was able to start coming out of my shell.
Wow. Who are some of your guys' trailblazers, or those that you look up to, maybe growing up or now, that's from the LGBTQ plus community? People that maybe you know what, they make me feel seen, or their words spoke, to your soul.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I have a couple of dance idols, right?
Yeah,
and so that's Desmond Richardson and Clifton Brown are my top two, and those are who I looked up to, right, as a dancer, who also happened to be, in the LGBTQ community. But I think some people that were life-changing for me were my goddads. So their name is Rodney and Saitwan. And I met them when I was in college. Rodney was a graduate student, and I was in my undergrad. And they kind of took care of me. I got sick for a moment and was in the hospital. My mom came down, but I was in Arizona at that time, so she couldn't stay the whole time.
Right.
But once she left, I stayed with them for maybe 2 months.
Wow.
And they took care of me, but then also them being a gay Black couple that were, together in this successful relationship is something that was so beautiful to me, that I look up to and continue to strive for, because that is when I then begin to understand our relationships also can be stable. We can live together. We can grow something together. And that's just not something I'd seen before then.
Right. Wow. How about you, Joe?
For me, Brandy Carlisle, when my dad passed away, the Story album was really, I think, the first kind of queer artist that I knew was out and was really accepting, and damn, I played that thing over and over again. My roommates probably hated me as I'm crying in there to the story.
Oh my goodness. Hey, that's my comment.
No judge. But I have a few answers to this because, like, again, my older brother is also gay.
Okay.
And he is just like so powerful in himself and like so driven in work and everything. And I always look up to him and his work ethic and the way he just continues to push himself. So it's like, you know, we had a horrible relationship as kids.
Wow.
Very much batted heads all the time. Now it makes sense. We were two homos in a house, right?
Trailblazers, both trailblazers. We're blazing the trail.
You're welcome, Mom.
Yeah.
A lot of fashion advice.
Oh my gosh.
But, you know, so there's that one. But I also want to like shift this and think of how many people we don't know because of the AIDS epidemic and who it took so many of our queer icons and elders before they were really able to express their art fully. I feel like in our communities. So like, I don't know. When I think about this question, I also think of people we don't know.
Okay.
Because they didn't get that chance.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, just it's like really hitting home for me on that.
Wow.
Especially around Pride right now when so many people are trying to erase our history.
Yes. And how does that mean, here's another question. How do you feel about this time right now in the world when you just said they're trying to erase your history? How does that make you feel? Like, what is it that you are carrying that weight, you know? You could take a moment, you know?
Yeah. You can jump in. I'll do you first. I don't know. There's a lot going on, and I think that I try to maintain a positive outlook, but double down on like the relationships and the things that are very important to me. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's kind of how I'm dealing with it, kind of handling the moment, right? I feel like, especially being in the arts, right? So not only am I gay, but I'm Black, and I work in the arts, right? So there's a lot that's
a lot of layers.
Yes, a lot of layers. Things that are changing, shifting, you know, feeling attacked from multiple areas, right? And we can kind of sit in that and allow that to like depress us, right? Or we can find the joy and figure out how we're gonna like work around.
Almost like protecting your peace.
Absolutely. Protecting
at all costs.
Yes. And then doing what I can in the situations that I control, right? Like working with my kids, being a mentor, things like that. So that's what I would say.
I'd say that, you know, the greatest form of resistance is joy through all this. So I try to keep that at the forefront of my thoughts and my moving forward through this wild time. And it also is just like, for me, better or worse, this is weeding out the performative allies versus the real.
Wow.
So just is, you know, like, okay, show your true colors. So I can really lean on moving forward.
Exactly.
Better or worse, it's good to know who's truly in your corner. So I feel like this is shining light to that. So kind of like find those joyous moments too, of being like, okay, you truly stand behind us, or this company is truly, you know, grounding themselves in this, and you know, how do we invest in them to keep that, you know, alive when some people are attacking it.
Wow. Well,
that can be a
go ahead.
That can be a sense of relief too, because then you know where to spend your energy. You know, spend the energy, and like you said, those who you're aligned with.
Well, now I'm thinking of, what does safety look like for you with the LGBTQ plus community, like creators inside the rehearsal rooms, the boardrooms, or backstage? What does safety look like for you?
I'd say representation is the first thing that comes to my mind. You know, how many people on your leadership team,
there it is,
on your board, are out and proud and authentic. You know, I feel like we do a great job at having queer artists on our stages and everything like that, but I don't feel like we do a great job in connecting with the community once they leave here. So I feel like there's a great opportunity for that.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I think representation is the most important, because we have to be in the room. And then if you see it, right, whether you're already an adult or whether you're young and still impressionable, we should be impressionable at all ages. We can always learn. But I do feel like that representation is the big key.
Right.
Because no one can speak to your experience except for someone else who has had the same experience.
And representation to me then makes you feel like, oh, it's safe to.
Yes.
It's weird. It's like it's a feeling of, oh, it's safe to. I'm going to be myself as well too. Seeing somebody like me, makes me feel safe to be myself. So, okay, so just a couple more questions. What are your dreams for the future of queer representation at STG and in the performing arts in large? What are your dreams? What are your hopes when it comes to that?
When it comes to STG, I think it's high time we do like a really curated Pride Month performance. We're involved in the parade.
Okay.
I think, we have so many venues. Now we have Rimlinger, Paramount, Moore, Neptune, Fifth Avenue, Cary Hall. The way we have access in so many neighborhoods right now to bring people in the community and the arts, I think we should really be focusing more on curating a Pride Month, June, queer artists across our stages in all different kinds of media. So that's what I'd like to see us move forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just the continued involvement, continued involvement and intentional work and reaching out to the community. I think, as Joe said, it's how do we stay connected to the community? Like we can bring in queer artists, we can, host queer-related events, but also what are we doing to kind of continue that impact directly with the community? So they know all of our different spaces as spaces that are for them.
Yes.
That offer programming for them, or that are places that they can go and be involved.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, thank you both so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for making it so light too.
Oh, I'm grateful.
Felt like it's easy. We both proved ourselves to be great representatives.
See?
We're gay!